We Are What We Eat interview by Ira Boudway, April 8, 2006. On the long trip from the soil to our mouths, a trip of 1,500 miles on average, the food we eat often passes through places most of us will never see. Michael Pollan has spent much of the last 5 years visiting these places on our behalf. Industrial food, as Pollan defines it, is food for which you need an investigative journalist to tell you where it came from. We have been eating such food for so long that most of us have no memory of the much shorter and less complicated food chains that once tied people to the land. We need someone, in other words, to tell us where food of any kind comes from. A longtime writer on food for the New York Times Magazine and author of the bestseller The Botany of Desire, Pollan is a good man for the job. In his new book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, A Natural History of 4 Meals, Pollan traces meals across 4 different food chains, or, if you prefer, markets, arranged in order of popularity: a McDonald's drive-through meal, a Whole Foods dinner, a meal raised on a Beyond Organic pasture farm in Virginia, and what Pollan labels the perfect meal, one whose ingredients he hunts and forages for himself. In the course of his investigation, Pollan comes across an unlikely collection of people, from Iowa corn farmers, Kansas feedlot managers, and food processing scientists to rebel farmers, San Francisco Bay Area gourmets, and fanatic mushroom foragers, yet manages to approach all of them with a common sympathy. As he sees it, the corn farmer dumping nitrogen in his fields, the veterinarian loading corn-fed cattle with medication, and the hog farmer snipping pigs' tails to prevent stress-induced chewing in those close quarters are all driven by the same pressures. He lays the blame for our destructive and precarious system, if at all, on those in Washington and on Wall Street, as the USDA and Archer Daniels Midland, who set the rules of the game. But then, they too, he knows, are responding to a set of pressures that come from all of us and our appetites. The Omnivore's Dilemma is equal parts expose and invitation, a rolling together of Fast Food Nation and the Moosewood Cookbook, to make the case for saner, more pleasurable eating habits. Our ingenuity in feeding ourselves is prodigious, Pollan writes. But at various points our technologies come into conflict with nature's way of doing things, as when we seek to maximize efficiency by planting crops or raising animals in vast monocultures. This is something nature never does, always, and for good reason, practicing diversity instead. Pollan caught up with Salon recently at Le Pain Quotidienne in Manhattan to discuss the hard plight of American farmers, the trouble with labels at Whole Foods, and the lure of the Big Mac.